In this tutorial, we are going to start a very broad topic, and that is classification. This is the introduction to classification. We have more to talk about it. So let's start. What is classification in biology? So classification in biology is simply the sorting of living things or living organisms into groups according to their common characteristics. When we talk about sorting, we are talking about putting things into order. So we are putting them into groups according to their common characteristics. For example, if they can produce their own food or they cannot produce their own food, or we look at a specific characteristics, it can be structural characteristics, it can be behavioral characteristics, that we have to place them in their various groups where they rightfully belong. So the branch of biology that deals with classification is what we call taxonomy. Now let's talk about the importance of classification, because we cannot study classification without actually knowing the importance of classification. One, it arranges diverse species into systematic groups for easier study. Not like coming here and study all the species as one. You will not be able to study the detail of those species when you talk about all of them as one. But because of classification, we are able to take them one after the other. We study them in detail. It also aids in species recognition and differentiation. It is because of classification we are able to identify that this one is a lion, this one is a tiger. You cannot see a tiger and call it a lion, or you see a lion and you call it a dog or hyena. It also reveals evolutionary relationships among organisms. It is through classification that we understood evolution. For example, it is through classification that we understood that humans they came from ape. It also helped to analyze ecosystem and interaction within them. Also, it guides conservation efforts by identifying endangered species. It is because of classification that we know that certain species are in danger. That means they are about to extinct. Extinct means they are about to totally wipe off from the surface of the earth. If there was no classification, organisms would extinct without even us knowing that these organisms they were living and they are not on earth presently. But because of classification, all species that are in danger they have been recorded, and those that have extinct they are also recorded. It also provides a fundamental framework for teaching biology. If there was no classification, I would just start there to talk about lion. By the time you remember, I've talked about fowl. By the time you remember, I've talked about gorilla. By the time you have remember, I talk about humans. By the time you remember, I talk about bacteria. But because of classification, which have classified these organisms into their various groups, we can take each of these groups, we study them in detail before we move to the next. Now let's talk about history of classification, how it came about. It all started with a man called Aristotle. Aristotle was the first to attempt at classification. He divided organisms into two groups, into plants and animals. Therefore, at the time of Aristotle, we are just having two kingdoms, the kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. Carl Linnaeus, he was the one that developed binomial nomenclature. When we talk about nomenclature, it's just talking about name. So he developed a naming system which we call the binomial nomenclature. He stated the rules about this nomenclature as follows. The first name is the genus name, and it has to start with capital letter followed by small letters. If you are writing it using a pen or with your hand, you underline the genus name separately and you underline the species name separately. But if you are typing it, you italize it. It is Ernest Haeckel that proposed the third kingdom, that is the kingdom Protista for microorganisms. And later, Robert Whittaker proposed the five kingdom system. And the five kingdom system were stated as Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. These are the five kingdoms that we are using even up to present. Carl House introduced the three-domain system as Archaea, Bacteria, and Eukarya. Next on our slide is the seventh rank taxon or hierarchy of classification. So the seventh rank taxon or hierarchy of classification are as follows. We have kingdom, we have phylum for animals and division for plants, we have class, we have order, we have family, we have genus, and we have species. To memorize this one in order, just learn this saying: keep pot clean or family get sick. Keep pot clean or family get sick. Kingdom, phylum or division, class, order, family, genus, species. And here we have the five kingdoms, which are Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. We have to discuss each of these kingdoms in detail in our next coming tutorials.